Promote your brand here at Viral Hip Hop News. Hit me, Sam Ant, at dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. Let's go.
I'm your brother, old guy from Hip Hop News Uncensored. Sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man, Sam Ant. Viral Hip Hop News. Like my cuz said, man, we're in the building for another edition of the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. We got a special guest in the building today, man. Tommy Davidson, the legendary Tommy Davidson's in the building. How you doing today, brother?
What's up? What it is right now.
All love.
Yeah. What it is right now. Yeah.
All love. Hey, man, we appreciate you coming on. Like we said in the pre-production, definitely an honor to have the legendary Tommy Davidson on. I'm sitting here and we're going through the day and I'm excited to have you on. And everything that we have going on right now and your backstory, it was really interesting to me to start off and hearing your perspective on what's going on around us. Now, for the people who don't know your backstory, if you don't mind giving them a little bit of how you grew up in your very unique situation, as both of our parents have unique situations growing up in DC as well. And then just talk about how you're feeling and everything that's going on right now.
Wait a minute. Who grew up in DC?
Our parents grew up in DC.
Wow.
Yeah. Our parents grew up, born and raised in DC, then they moved out here, and here we are.
Oh, y'all got the heart of DC. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a different type of city. I was actually abandoned in a pile of trash when I was an infant, 18 months old. And my mother that raised me happened to be walking by this particular pile of trash, you know? And something told her to look under this tire. This is her story to me, you know? And the tire was on top of all this trash. And she pushed the tire and just lifted it and saw my foot and dug the trash away. And there I was, you know, unconscious, had contusions in my skull, had been starved, you know, basically dead or near. Took me to the hospital, took about 60 days to see if I was going to live. And then once I did, she took me to Fort Collins, Colorado, and Wyoming, where I grew up until I was 5, you know. And I didn't know nothing about black and white because she was white and I didn't know, you know. I didn't know until I moved to Washington, D.C. that I was even what you call black. But when I got to Washington, D.C. during the riots, so I've seen riots since I was a kid. They rioting now, I didn't seen that, you know, from the very jump. Fires, tanks, whatever. And then things settled down and we went to play with the black kids in the neighborhood and they kicked our ass every day. And they were calling my sister and brother white cracker and calling me white cracker lover. So I went to my mom. I was like, why they keep calling me a white cracker lover? I like graham crackers. You know, this is a kid. You know, white crackers are kind of dry. You gotta have some tuna salad with it or something, or you're gonna choke. You know, graham crackers go down smooth. You know what I mean? What's the deal? You know, so every time, you know, you don't even need water. So unless you put peanut butter on them, then you're done. But it was at that point she told me, people your color call people our color that name when they don't like them, and that's when color came into my life. That's why the book is called Living in Color. Yeah. And all of a sudden, color was a part of my life. I said, well, what color is that? She said, they're black. I said, they're not black, they're brown. Because I knew my color from the crayons. Yeah. She said, yeah, but that's what we call them. You know? I said, okay. So that was hard because we were fighting every day and these people look like me, you know? And I always thought I was a brown one of whatever we were because I saw horses have a coat. The horse could be a white horse and have a black coat. A dog can be a brown dog and have a white puppy, a black puppy, a gray puppy, an orange puppy, you know? Right. So I think that's how we were. I was a brown one. So I'm confused because the brown is black, right? So then I moved to the suburbs and grown men were chasing me home. It was like I was scared to death all the time. Be on my bike and truck full of grown white men killed the nigga.
Dang.
Was barely getting in the house. So I went to my mother and I was like, who are these niggas? We got to stay away from them. And I was serious. She said, well, that's what people, our color, call people your color when they don't like them. So what color are y'all? They said, we're white. I said, no, you're peach. Because I learned it from the crayons. So we finally moved to an integrated neighborhood. It was still in 1970, you know. So there was still racism out there. Some teenage white boys went to chase me. But this time the black guys came in front of me and the teenagers white boys ran the other way. So I've basically been black ever since. that day, you see? Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to really put that all together. And at 56, I got it all together. Now I really know who I am. I really know who they are. I really know how it all happened too.
Yeah.
That's what the book is about. That's what my life is about, is taking those moments that were so tragic to me and now having a full understanding of it, at least up until Tuesday, which is the last day I have until tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. So how did you get started in stand-up? Take us through our journey, please.
My boy Howard. I called him. He grew up in my project in D.C., you know, and he had 12 brothers and sisters. I always tell this story. He was the poorest person I ever seen. They had moving blankets on their bed. Okay? They ate in shifts. He come on my house one Christmas morning, and for Christmas, he got in a paper bag with a bow on it, he got those little green army men and an orange. My mother I used to think she was crazy. Come here. Give him one of your watches. I was like, why I got to give him one of my watches? She's like, because your grandparents gave you one and I gave you one. So give him the one you don't like. And I was mad. But Howard's the one who got me into comedy. I called him. I'm 18. I got a new job as an assistant chef at a Ramada. So I'm calling.
Up a little bit.
You know, you could be a big star. You can sing, you can do comedy, you'll kill Eddie, because Eddie was the only one out at the time. So he got me a job going on stage at the worst strip club in DC. Trust me. Mm. It was like the guards outside had t-shirts on the back that said, please don't shoot him. You know?
Damn.
So and for real. And finally he came down to my house, was able to convince me to go to that club. The manager said, you got 5 minutes. I looked at Howard. I said, well, what am I supposed to do now? He said, I don't give up what you do. Just say something. And from the first thing I said, people laughed. And like, fast forward, I'm on the screen with y'all. That's how it happened.
Now there's a lot I want to break down. We want to break down when it comes to the comedy and everything that you went through. But I want to talk first about In Living Color. And the legends that were on there, and I'm glad you guys are still around to give you guys your flowers now, because who knew then that this would be one of the greatest shows of all time now.
Right. We knew.
Getting casted into that, Keenan Ivory Wayans, and just talk about your experience on there.
That came, I had met Keenan when I first got to LA. I was trying to break into the comedy scene. I met him at the premiere of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. You know, and we looked up to these guys, him and Robert Townsend. They had movies. Black people didn't have movies like that.
Right.
Back then, of young people, hip people, you know? And so he remembered me, because 3 years later, after I got really, really hot, he came to me for In Living Color to audition. And I had gone through all this other mess, so I wasn't really trying to do all that. But my agent was smart. He said, just go in, you get it, you get it. You don't. I went in, got it, you know? I bombed at first on the sketch part of it, but then they had a stand-up contest for it. And I said, okay, move out the way, you know, because I'm the Jordan of comedy. I'm like, okay, cool. I can do this. 30 comics, all that you know, all of them, DL, Martin, name them. They all were there trying to get that gym. They all were there trying to get that show. I was the 30th comic to come on. And I handled it like Rocky. I was outside walking back and forth. My manager come outside. Yeah, such and such did this. My act was getting smaller because people bite, you know. But I was like, hey, you know, I ain't worried about it. You know, if you got a chocolate piece, if you got a chocolate cake and you cut just a little bit, it's still chocolate cake, you know. So I went in. The comedy universe gave me my own bit right there on the spot, killed it, destroyed, standing ovation. Keenan ran outside. You got the part.
Damn. How was it working with that?
So I pump fake, and then went with both. Bam on everybody. All right, great. Sorry. You there?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah. Give me another question. I'm sorry.
I said, how was it working with that all-star cast on Living Color?
It's like being the X-Men. You know, I have Wolverine here, Storm here. We killed it. You know, we knew what we was going to do. We were the ones that knew what we was going to do. Like the Eagles, when they beat the Patriots. Nobody knew they was going to beat them but them.
How'd you bring that up right now?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Bring that shit up.
But them. Nobody knew they was going to win the Super Bowl but them. Because they knew what they could do. And that's how we were. So when the thing blew up, we weren't surprised. We were happy because all of us knew each other from the comedy circuit. I knew Jim from the Comedy Store. We all knew each other from doing comedy in LA. So once we looked at each other and we're like, we're all on the same team. We had that first USA basketball Olympic team. We on the same team. Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's how that formed.
The Eagles get in the way at all?
Huh?
The egos get in the way at all?
Yeah, of course. You
Yeah.
know, you can have that on any job. You know, y'all know that in radio, Lord, you know.
Yep.
And the things that happen outside of the booth ain't got nothing to do with what happens inside the booth on radio. It's the same thing.
Yes, sir.
And the people on the outside booth got all this advice and they want you to do this and want you to do that. And then you do it and they didn't even listen to it. They come in the morning and go, yeah, you go, hey, so how'd you like that? They go, I ain't even listen. It's the same thing. You know, you just have to continue to express yourself and work with your people. You know, I'm sure that Jordan didn't approve of Rodman with the whole wedding dress and the stuff he wore, but he knew he needed him to win.
Yeah.
And that's what that was all about. You know, we were a fraternity, definitely. We were close as a team, but it's a job. It's a job. You get paid for it. You go in there and you want to have your court time too. I'm doing a lot of basketball analogies today. You want to have your court time too.
Yeah.
You don't want to be on the bench the whole time, right? You want to be able to contribute. And so that you know, sometimes the air would go out of the room because is there room for 10 bad people? You know? Yes, there is. But it was work.
No, when I was watching, actually, it's crazy. I caught an episode maybe a couple of days ago with you, Jamie Foxx. Y'all were doing security for Tupac. And Tupac.
Oh, yes.
That was one of my favorite Jones. And that was
killer.
How was it working in that segment? How was it working with Tupac?
Oh, that was cool. You know, I'd heard of him. I just met him for the first time, you know. And you know, he was the hottest thing smoking. He walked in the club and all the girls lay on the floor. This dude was, they all of them lay on the floor on their stomach, you know. I ain't lying. He was that hot. And he had the whole gangster persona and all of this, you know what I mean? But he wasn't like that to me. When I met him, he was like, hey, Mr. Davidson. He hardly looked me in my eye. Nice to meet you, man. Very humble, you know. Very humble. And we got to it, and he good too. Everything we fed him, he was ready. He was ready, then he was gone, you know. Somehow some gun pop up on his way out. I don't know about that one, but you know what I'm saying? He didn't have that persona to me. So me and Jamie, it was like having you know, Jerry Rice and you know, Randy Moss as wideouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He played quarterback in the scene. That actually that scene, that sketch is called Main Man. That sketch is really Rain Man, but black.
Okay. That's dope.
Yeah. So he played the Tom Cruise one, and I played Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah. Who did Keenan do most of the writing, or did y'all do writing for the sketches and stuff? And how much of it was what's the word I'm looking for? How much of it was freestyling and stuff like that?
I'd say about 60% of it was freestyle. 70. Yeah. But we worked hard on the material, so you knew your plays, but you knew them so good you can improvise. And it was a game between us to stump the other person. So they'd be saying their line, and then you flip it on them in the camera, so they can't laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I did to Martin when I did the Varnel Hill show.
That shit was classic.
I flipped on him. You know what I mean? Because he was like, you ain't never done TV like this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, I'm going to show you how I do TV. So when we did that scene, I did the freak on him. Never missing a beat. Yeah. I thought the freak. Doom, 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 doom. Not just knee deep. She was on the G deep when he did the freak with Mary.
Talk about that. That was one of my top 3 episodes of all time. Martin with Varnel Hill.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
the
me and Martin, we hit the sidewalk at the same time from DC. So we've been like that from jump, you know. And so when one of the writers from In Living Color was his executive producer. So they called and said, "We got this character, man. We want you to come in for." You know, so I went in and did the character, and it was a perfect character. But here's what's really cool. Me and Martin are executive producing a show on BET. And all I can say about it is, did you miss me?
Uh-oh. This is coming.
That's all I can say about it. Did you miss me?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Can't wait for that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Guarantee on air, too. Did you miss me?
So we got a little inside information just now. It's fair to say.
Hey.
And we appreciate that, Mr. Davidson. Thank you.
Yeah. So can you talk
about you with it? Come on now.
Appreciate it, definitely. Can you talk about Robert Townsend and his influence on your life and career?
Yeah, Robert broke my career. He broke me in to the business. You know, I think I'm one of the very few pieces of talent in the whole town that got all my opportunities from black men. Robert put me on TV for the first time. Then Arsenio came and put me on his show. You see? Then I did a pilot with Eddie Murphy, Coming to America, where I played his little brother. And then I did In Living Color. That's For the Hard Way. And then Sinbad let me go on tour with Anita Baker and Luther Vandross. That's 5 on the black hand side. I got 5 on it.
Yeah.
You said a couple times on here, and I've heard you say in previous interviews that you were the Michael Jordan of comedy. Now, there's LeBron, there's Shaq, Bill Russell, Wilt. It's only one fucking Jordan. Right. And we don't debate it here. We all know that the GOAT is Jordan. Now, there's some comedy heavyweights out there. For you to call yourself the Michael Jordan of comedy, what makes you say that?
I base it on the versatility. Who can do what? And who does it all? Who can do what and who does it all? You see, I base it on that. Defense, offensive rebounds, steals, free throws, 3-pointers, dunks, running the rock, running the offense. Huh?
Yes, sir.
I credit it for that. You know, with Jordan, you start to branch off into the tree, right? Kobe had his shooting skills, right? You can go on and on and on. You know, Vince had his dunking skills. Everybody had a piece of him. You know, he's like Bruce Lee. You know, the center of martial arts. Everybody, there's karate, there's judo, there's all these different types. But he was all the types at once. That's what I base it on.
Who were some of your influences before you got started in comedy?
Jackson 5, Stevie Wonder. I was really off into music.
Okay.
Those were my influences. Richard Pryor was one of my primary influences in comedy, but I didn't want to do comedy then when I was a kid. I wanted to do music. You know, I thought even at the age 11, 12, I thought that if I was a comedian, nobody would take me serious. Even back then, I thought that. I don't think that now.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I want to transition real quick into something more serious other than comedy, and that was social justice that we see going on right here in America. It's a very interesting time in 2020 that we're getting to look at a lot of social injustice being brought to living rooms that wasn't typically brought to in the past. Now we're seeing it everywhere. What's your thoughts on everything we're seeing right now?
It's an illusion. You know, we're just being presented an illusion as Black people, as Africans worldwide. We're being presented an illusion. You know, how do you hold back people that outnumber you? It's got to be mental.
Yeah.
Right. So since we ran the whole world for 8 years flawlessly, they said, well, that's just one of them and there are billions of them. So this time, why don't we just throw everything at them but the kitchen sink to make them think that they can't do that again? So we're right where we're supposed to be. We're not thrown back. We're not going back in time. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're doing exactly what we're doing. We're blowing up. We're becoming economic powers. We're starting to work together, and we ain't harming nobody. That's the main thing. We're not harming anybody. We're the ones that have been harmed for 400 years, but yet we're not doing that back to them. We're doing it in self-defense. And that's all. If anybody is the graceful people, if anybody is the forgiving people out of all Americans, it would be us. And I think that really intimidates them. I was proud of us the last time they shot that boy in the back in front of his kids and we didn't riot. You see? Because that's the main thing that's going to throw us off our focus. If we put all our energy into negative, then we can't continue the positive. My great-great-grandmother pushed shit out of a pig's intestines so I can grow up nice and strong. I'm her greatest accomplishment.
Trump or Biden?
Biden, I'd like to see that. But politics are out of our hands. We can vote and go do the things that we need to do. But there was something called the Tilden-Hayes Compromise after the Civil War. And what happened was, I can't remember which presidential candidate had cheated on the voting. So there was going to be another civil war. Like they was getting ready to get into it again because of this. Then they went in a closed door session and did the Tilden-Hayes Compromise. And what they did was the Democrats said, you know what? We're going to let the Republicans be the president. But what we want in exchange is to remove all the federal troops out of the South. And that's what started Jim Crow. That's what started the lynchings. That's it. They agreed on that. So they said, okay, cool. Took the troops out, and then we were with no help. So they carry on that way. Stevie Wonder said it best. Well, we are sick and tired of hearing your song, telling how you're gonna change right from wrong. But if you really want to hear our view, you haven't done nothing. Mm-hmm. Jack did 5, come on now, sing, go say doo-doo up.
You said
yeah, let me marinate.
You said 8 years.
Yeah, because if we can get them to just be talking about what they're going to do on social media, then we ain't got to worry about them doing. You see, if we're on there, man, this, that, then we're not spending time locking down businesses, locking down real estate, locking down relationships with other African countries. You know what I mean? We're busy doing that. You don't see Koreans or East Indians or Persians doing a whole lot of talking on no social media. They're out there owning liquor stores, grocery stores, and usually they're in our neighborhoods. See? And now a lot of times they ain't even that nice. So how did I get in a position where I'm going to a Korean grocery store or a Vietnamese grocery store and I'm being treated that way when I was the very one on the front lines in Vietnam, helping them defend against them? I was on the front line in Korea, helping them defend against them. How I get in this position? See? I got something for them. I got the truth. I ain't trying to beat nobody else. I'm just saying what I'm saying.
We got the debate tonight. It almost seems like I tweeted out earlier that this should be presented on pay-per-view because this is about to be must-see TV. It seems like it's very entertainment-esque.
Yeah.
If, in fact, Biden does win, us as a community, do you feel as though we need to hold him accountable for all of his actions? Because he's speaking big words. He says if you vote for Trump, then you're not really black. He really seems like he has a very good mouthpiece in regards to the black community. So if, in fact, he does win, what kind of accountability do we need to hold him under, and how long do we give him before we say, okay?
Yeah, it's a fact of American politics that they need the black vote, but they don't have to do nothing for us after we give them the power.
Yeah.
Even Obama, had his hands tied. You know what I mean? So we've never operated African Americans have never operated being dependent on the government because we'd be gone a long time ago.
Yeah.
If you think it was bad in the Depression for white people, what you think we got through? If we can get through that, we can get through anything. Or how about this? Whip on the back and pick that up.
I was reading a source article about you and Jamie Foxx, and it said that in this particular article that
in source?
Yeah, I'm reading it now. The
really?
source?
Hip hop joint?
yeah. Saying pretty much. Sorry, I have a shoe pull today, so I hope you can hear me very well. He said Davidson says Jamie didn't understand the concept of being a supporting actor and was determined to steal every scene that he could.
Yeah, I didn't say that. You know, but there was a certain way that he worked. You know, there's a certain way that he worked. It works for some people because when Shaq talked to Kobe about not passing the ball, he said, "Ain't no I in team," and Kobe said, "Yeah, but it's a me in that month." You know what I'm saying? So people, you know, everybody has their own style of how they roll. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a team win unless you look at it as an individual win. You know what I mean? So everybody's different. But what it isn't is a Biggie Tupac situation. It ain't life or death. You know what I mean? It's just a difference of how we work. It can turn into that, but unlike hip hop, comedy isn't real gossipy.
Yeah. It wasn't until now.
Listen what Drake said about this, and listen what this person said about. Wait, you're coming up right now. You gonna hear how this person dissed that person. You know, you don't see that very much in our business.
Talk about some of your demons, if you don't mind me asking.
I'll be short with it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to become that. But
yeah,
it's just that they were there, and it was a hurdle that I had to get over. You know. And it's a hurdle that everybody has to deal with something in their life that they can't get past and have to get past. And I was lucky enough to have a strong circle around me of people who really loved me and really cared about me on the reels. And because of that, I'm here. And because of that, if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have this joint.
Right. You
wouldn't even have that. Because this is to take that experience and pass it on to the reader. You see? It ain't enough to just give people fish. I'd rather see us learn how.
It's powerful.
Right? So this is a testimony in a way. But then again, it's a blueprint to help you with the maze of what's presented to you in this society. Because each and every turn where I was able to get through that next phase of the maze is right in here. And like Frankie Beverly and Maze say, we are one. No matter what we do, we are one. Right? Our love will see us through. We are one. And that's the way it is. See, and that's what's happening in the media. They're trying to confuse us and convince us that that's not the way it is. But that's the way it is.
Is it true that you almost got into a fist fight with Will Smith?
Uh-oh. Did you?
Yeah, but it was a miscommunication. You know, I think that he thought that in the scene that I did with Jada, that I was a little bit forthcoming with her on the kiss stuff. You know what I mean? But it was really a miscommunication because we never rehearsed it. And I was told that she don't want to rehearse it. So we weren't on the same page. So I know that he misconstrued that as me being disrespectful to her, but I wasn't. So, you know, he came at me like, you know, this, that, but I didn't know what he was talking about really. Because I didn't really discover what really happened for years until I did the book, you see, because I wrote it down what I thought happened. And then I said, I can't just put that in a book like that. You know, I ain't gonna do that. So I called them and sent it to him. And the only way I was going to find out what really happened was their reaction, because we never talked about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they text me back and say, go ahead, put it in the book, man. That is what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I was just in a position where, you know, where I was being offered up, you know, and then eventually I had to accept, you know, we need to talk, we need to talk, we need to talk about this, we need to talk about this. I said, so okay, then let's go outside and talk about it. Don't look like there's enough room in here. You know what I mean? And that Jada was like, no, y'all. I said, but he the one want to talk to me. You know that? So bad. You know what I mean? But we the best of friends, been that. That's a moment in time.
Yes.
You know, it's just like me and my best friends. We almost fought every day physically over basketball games or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. You know, when you talk about African American males, fisticuffs come automatic.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit about Black males, African American males. We have a good conversation often with a lot of the Black actors we were privileged to have on this show.
Oh yeah, good.
Black men in dresses. Now, we hear a lot of perspective of his acting, and we appreciate that perspective. And then we hear other perspectives. You being a sketch comedy and you being just having the repertoire that you do, what is your thought on Black men in dresses as an actor and then as Tommy Davidson, the man?
In dresses?
Yes, like acting dresses. You hear the perspective, like, well, for example, Medea. A lot of Black men outside of the Hollywood community give criticism to Tyler Perry because they felt as though the dress was just like, okay, what image are you portraying? This 6'4", 200-some-odd pound strong man sitting in a dress shaking her titties. Like, it just didn't seem good.
I don't really care about, you know, what you put on or what you know, what you put on, your costume or whatever. But I think mainly the only thing that bothered me was that it was a spoof about the most powerful person in our community, our grandmothers.
Yeah.
Who go to church religiously and pass those principles on to us so we can not only be successful people, but so we can have compassion for mankind and we can conduct ourselves in a graceful way. You know, so to do a spoof on that, you know, is the only thing that I would say, okay, well, put that in proper perspective. If you're going to do that, then in the interviews, acknowledge her. Acknowledge her for what she is. You know, she is the head of the family. You know, America has gone after the head of the family in the Black community for decades after decades, but we kept going because they went after the wrong one. Grandma is. See, because Europeans are patriarchal. The men's are the head. But African culture, the women's are the head because we understood that they can do something that we couldn't. They could bring life into the world. So we knew that they were superior in that sense. Or we ain't burning them at the stake and all this so crazy. You dig it?
Or any demeaning roles that you turned down in Hollywood that you wish to share with the people?
Yeah, there was one, and I can't remember the movie. It's a Michael Douglas movie. And my agents called me and said, you know, you can pick any part you want. So I picked the part of a white female detective. I said, change that to Black, and I'm going to do that. Because she was sharp, she was aggressive, she knew her stuff, but yet she was compassionate too. And then they said, nah, you can't have that role. I said, well, you said have any role. They said the role that's available is the role of a Black guy who goes into a hospital room when a woman is basically casted and just laying down vulnerable, and he goes to stab her with an ice pick. And I was like, you know, oh, so that's definitely a Black role? Yeah.
Wow.
So I said no. Because I don't know how many Black men out there would stab a white woman, an innocent white woman who's vulnerable with an ice pick. I don't know, man. I know that you could see white dudes putting, 20 chicks under their house. You know what I mean? So he's like, I mean, come on now. You know, it's like they blame us. It's like they put the burden of guilt on us for stuff that they're guilty of. Like they call us lazy, but we work for free.
Yeah.
For 400 years. But we lazy, right? You know what I'm saying? And then we late all the time. We late all the time. We late all the time. That's stereotype that we've been given. But the way that we worked, what's the incentive to be on time? We don't get paid.
Yeah.
Right? So that may have come from somewhere, huh?
Appreciate your honesty, man.
That may have come from somewhere, huh? You know, you got to get up 5 a.m, no matter what, and get your ass out there. And we'll tell you when you're done. And then we lazy and we late. But to show up on time is something you didn't get paid for. What's the incentive?
You brought up a good point when you said, what were we built on? What were we like subconsciously known to do? And we talk about here on this show, even about when the conversation of black on black crime is brought up. Yes, you're correct, but why don't we get to the root of the issue? Why don't we get to why we are in this situation where there's no jobs, no available opportunities? We don't want to talk about that. We just want to criticize what we see. What do you think about that?
Well, specifically, we're in the same stage as the Polish, Italians, Jews, or the Europeans were in the inner cities before World War II.
Yes, sir.
You can't tell me they're in Italian crime.
Facts.
Or Italian on Italian violence. You can't tell me that they're in white on white crime, because all you got to do is watch the first scene in Saving Private Ryan. Right? They was doing that to each other. I mean, flamethrowers, okay? We get blamed. That's what I'm saying. We get blamed for that. You're always black on black crime. Well, what about, or black on black violence? But what about white on white violence? It's 10 times worse. 100,000 times worse, because we don't own no flamethrowers and no damn grenades or no tanks. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We can't even get a hold of one. You see, so coming out of World War II, they realized, wait a second, we got to get our boys off the street, because we can't have them killing each other, because we got to create suburbs. You know, we're going to create suburbs now where whites can go and live and be a part of the economy. We're going to leave black people in the city. You see? So, but they had things to help. Boys Club of America, Boys Town, Boys and Girls Club of America, Boys Town, 4-H Club, YMCA. They had all these government funded programs to keep those kids, the white thugs, off the streets, and give them, you know, tools for the future. But we've never been given that in our inner cities. There is one program called the OK program that's specifically designed for black male police officers to mentor young black men and teens directly in the inner cities, and it's been successful for like 27 years. Why the NFL won't do that program? Why the NFL players won't pay attention to that program? Because it works. You know, if there isn't a solution, matter, and then they're gonna sell more tacos. But it's not gonna solve the problem. So we need to take that in our hands. The OK program puts that in our hands. So go to OK program, www.okprogram or whatever, and see if I'm lying. There is a solution. As long as there ain't a solution, then we carry on. You know, because it's pretty set up. You know, you pay one hip hop artist to talk about killing somebody and talk about selling drugs, and you get one of those, and it influences millions of young men who don't have a record deal.
Talk about it.
See? And if that's all you hear on the radio, you know, I got a swimming pool of liquor, gonna dive in it, you know, then you know, what are the kids gonna do? You can't show up to a job all drunk and high, you know. So what you talking about?
Yeah. Appreciate your perspective, legendary Tommy Davidson.
But you know what? it's not a bad thing.
Hmm.
You know, to solve a problem, you got to know what the problem is in the first place. What the problem is. Now we know.
We know you're pressed for time, legendary Tommy Davidson. We pressed this on because we still got a little more time, but we know you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Give the people where they can find you, social media handles and things like that, and your lasting remarks before we have to get out of here.
It's pretty simple. Just go to my IG, The Real Tommy Cat. That'll lead you to everything else.
Okay.
And most importantly, this is something that I put my heart and soul in. But mostly all of the people that influence me are in here. So it's like, you know, it's fat free, you know. So go to Amazon, pick that up. And I also have an audio book where I narrate it myself.
Dope.
So, you know, if you're gonna have Netflix and look at all the stuff that's, you know, that's basically engineered and made by other people, then why not get into something that's made by you, for you? Tommy Davidson, living in color. You heard me?
Appreciate you. Absolutely,
Yes,
brother. Tommy Davidson,
y'all, man.
Tommy Cat on
All day. And yo, you want to do it again, just call me.
Hell yeah.
What I got.
Oh man, it's a date. Call us up, man. We
You know
definitely
what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
When you're ready and it clears up and you guys do what you do, you know your schedule, y'all are sharp.
Appreciate you.
Much respect. It's the most unsung, part of us. They don't really realize who really drives the hip hop industry. It's y'all.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So y'all don't get you don't get a slice of the big cake. You got a couple of times a year where all y'all get together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the artists are there on the other side. But with your making sure that stuff get played and doing and propping them up and all of that, you're a part of that machine. And that's respect to you on the reels.
It's humble. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Legendary Tommy Davidson.
Go with that book.
Podcast.
Yeah. Peace.
Love y'all.
Appreciate
Love,
you.
brother. Peace.
Thanks.